Hi, Stephen Kruiser here for Town Hall / PJ Media, the mothership, as I like to call it, the PJ Media Town Hall Mothership Group, talking with Vincent Vernuccio from the Mackinac Center for Public Policy.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
So we're talking about right-to-work stuff right now, and the fact that it's under assault. A lot of people think it's just going on with AB 5 in California right now, but it's become this union-backed national push, which now culminated in the PRO Act passing in the House.
That's right.
So how legitimate is the threat nationally right now? Are we that close to having right to work just peeled away everywhere?
Well, they're trying, and like you said, in Congress, the House did pass the PRO Act, which had just basically a smorgasbord of bad ideas. One of them was repealing right to work, so the 27 states that now give private sector employees the ability to choose whether or not to pay a union. That would be gone. It would do AB 5, basically turn the entire country into California, and California's attack on the freelance and independent freelance industry and independent contractors. It would also try to take away the secret ballot from employees, and you can just go down the list, and we'd be here all day if we talk about all the bad ideas in the PRO Act.
So what you just said about the secret ballot thing, so this is basically, was about 10 years ago when they were trying to pass card check all the time?
Right.
So this is that on steroids now, right?
You took the words out of my mouth.
Okay.
So this is that was the Employee Free Choice Act. This is the Employee Free Choice Act. They kind of do it a little underhanded, but essentially it's EFCA on steroids because it has all these other things in there, including repealing right to work, including the attacks on the franchise industry and independent contracting.
Is this all funded by public sector unions? Because the private sector unions' membership has been dwindling for decades. So they can't have the power, they can't possibly have the power that they used to have.
Well, this would be mostly private sector unions. So that's the PRO Act applies mostly to private sector unions, but then you have stuff like the Public Service Freedom to Negotiate Act. Don't you just love that name?
Yeah.
Public Service Freedom, ooh, gives you that Bolshevik goosebumps.
Yeah.
And that would essentially mandate laws that are even more stringent than New York State on public employees negotiating with public employers.
Okay, but where's the money coming from to fund this? Because is the SEIU funding everything just to get the private unions back in the mix, or where's the cash coming from? Because in California, it's union backed, but so where are they getting it?
You can go to like Center for Responsive Politics, and you go to a lot of the campaign finance websites, and you're going to see when you look at the top 10 donors nationally, there's a lot of unions within that list. So unions are donating very heavily. They're also big drivers of get out the vote efforts. So there's a lot of money that there's a lot of effort from unions that isn't so much dollars and cents, but that politicians know, okay, that's where my bread is buttered.
Okay. So since this is basically a nationalized AB 5, not everyone who reads us or listens knows exactly what AB 5 is. So if you could explain that a little bit, how it affects freelancers, give them a little rundown on exactly what it is.
That's right. So I'll give you a great example. And I've heard a lot of stories from California, and I mean, they are just heartbreaking. I talked to a woman out there, and she's a freelance writer. She's a mom, and basically she's just trying to make some side money while raising her kids. So she writes for several different outlets. And she freelances for them, so she's not an employee. Because of AB 5, now she has to become either an LLC, which costs
a lot.
I've done
it in California.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking well over $1,000, or become an employee of the different places she writes for.
Yeah.
And you know what? She said, I can't afford to get these licenses. I can't afford to become an LLC. The people I'm writing for have told me, well, you can't write for us anymore because we don't want to be in trouble with AB 5. So you have real people, and it's not, it's Uber drivers, it's the gig economy, it's freelance writers, it's people working in media. They can't make a living now. They can't get these side hustles to put money on the table because what happened was that the legislature in California at the union's bidding has said, well, we want everyone to be considered an employee so we can organize them.
A former union activist, by the way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And to disastrous results. And now in things like the PRO Act, which just passed the House and Congress, they're trying to take that national. And they haven't learned the lesson of the disaster that AB 5 has caused in California, and they're trying to spread it across the country.
And a lot of people like to write off AB 5 and say, oh, it's just California, California's crazy. But as you mentioned, we've got the PRO Act now, but there are also similar bills working their way up legislatures in various states now. Where What other state do you think is close to having an AB5 like thing passed right now?
I mean, New York City and New York is very close. I know there was a bill introduced in Arizona and several other states. But once again, these are entrepreneurs, and I mean, I travel a lot. I take Ubers to and from the airport for my job, and I always like to talk with the Uber drivers. And most of them, and there are some exceptions, but most of them said, "Yeah, I love it. This is a side job. I get to work my own hours. There's no one looking over my shoulder." And they really feel like they're in control of how they're making a living. Or they're able to work a job and then do this as a side and get extra income. And what AB5 is doing and what the PRO Act is trying to do and what we're seeing across the country of the AB5 like bills are trying to do is directly attack entrepreneurship, the gig economy, what will probably be the future of the economy here in America.
And AB5 has been such a disaster in California thus far that they're doing carve-outs, kind of like what they did with Obamacare several years ago. They had to carve several people. Has it been, I don't think they realized that it was going to be such a publicity nightmare for them. Has it been bad enough to actually help combat this now? Do you think there's enough national awareness? Do people know what a disaster AB5 has been in California?
Well, you're hearing more and more stories coming out of California that I hope there's a lesson learned. And it's not just, no offense, like rabid right-wingers that are talking about it. I mean, you're talking about freelancers working for liberal websites that had mass layoffs, and they realized, oh wait, no, this was not such
like Vox.
Vox is exactly what I was thinking. And they realized, hey, maybe this wasn't the best idea in the world. And instead of carve-outs, it should just be, hey, how do you want to be categorized? I mean, that would be the best, but you're seeing different aspects of getting to that point now of allowing the traditional now gig economy workers or freelancing to go forward. And that industry, those entrepreneurs, they really need to be protected.
So how do we combat this now nationally? What are you doing? I mean, I can write about it a lot.
Write about it. But I mean, right now it's shining a light on all the bad things that are coming out of California and saying, don't do that. I don't think that the PRO Act is going to really get anywhere in the Senate. The president has said that he would veto it if it came to his desk. And it only adds fuel to the fire when you show, hey, this isn't just some academic concept right now. This is something that has been tried, it's currently being tried, and it's hurting real people. It's showing those stories of what this actually does.
But you're right, we have the firewall in the Senate with the president right now, but like EFCA, they're going to leave it hanging around until they can try to get it passed, right? The Democrats are going to keep floating it and floating it and floating it. So yeah, let's hope we can cut it off at the knees, because I've been in the entertainment industry my whole life and a freelancer. Everyone I know in California is a freelancer. Their lives are all being wrecked by this. If I hadn't left California on my own 2 years ago, this would have run me out. So it's got to be stopped, and I thank you very much for your expertise.
Thank you for having me on.
Let's keep fighting it. Let's keep fighting it. Thank you very much. Vincent Vernuccio from the Mackinac Center for Public Policy. Stephen Kruiser here at the glorious mothership, Town Hall / PJ Media booth, CPAC 2020.